Assalamu alaikum. I'm Fatima Tabassum Mori and welcome to this demo class where we are going to talk about one of the significant features of Greek architecture, that is Doric order. So when we will hear the word Doric, the first thing that comes to our mind, the first question that comes to our mind is, what is it? What is a Doric order? Then the question that comes to our mind is why it was named Doric order. And then maybe the question comes to our mind that what are the features of this Doric column that made it so distinct from the other columns? So in this lecture, I will be going through these questions to give you a better understanding of what Doric order is and how can we distinguish it from other columns. So the first question is, what is a Doric order? So the Doric order is the earliest of the three classical orders of architecture. The order is used to define the characters of column, and it was predominantly used in temples. So in this image, we can see the Doric order column is pointed out, and just the right side of it is Ionic order and Corinthian order. Just by looking into it, we can see that there are some differences that makes it different from the others. So the Doric order is characterized, so by just looking into it, we can see that it has a very plain and unadorned characteristic. It is made very plain and unadorned, and the capital sits just right on top of the stylobate and without any base. So it does not have any base and it just sits right on top of it. So the Doric order was made very plain and straightforward in design, and it was then the Ionic and Corinthian column style. And because of it, it looks very thicker and heavier than Ionic and Corinthian column. The Greek made this column by the influence of human body proportion, specifically male body proportion. In the first image, we can see that there is a Doric column, and the second image, we can see the Ionic column. Just by looking into it, we can see the column, the Doric column looks much more heavier and thicker than the Ionic column. This is because the Greek tried to mimic male body proportion into Doric column and female body proportion into Ionic column. Their obsession with mimicking human body into their structure was because they found that human body structure was the most stable that was found in nature. Then the question comes is why it was named Doric. So there are many theories, but the most believed theory is the name was originated from Greek-speaking Dorian tribes. And one of the other beliefs is the Doric order is the result of early wood prototypes of previous temples. In the first image, we can see the wooden prototype of the temple and the conversion into Doric order into the stone temples. In the second image, we can see the earlier temples were made with wood, and not only the columns, but also the roof were also made with wood. So now let's come to what are the features of Doric column. So by knowing it, we can identify a Doric column just by looking into it. So let's see. So first, the mainly the Doric column consists of two parts. One is column and the other part is entablature. So in this image, I have the column and entablature is notified. So let's come to the column. So the column has a very distinctive feature again. So it has no base and it directly sits on the stylobate. And the height, the most significant feature is the height of the column is 6 to 8 times of the column's lower diameter, which means if the lower diameter of the column is D, so the height would be 6 to 8 times. But in Ionic order, the ratio is higher. The ratio can go up to 10 to 12 times, which makes it much more slender. And this ratio makes Doric column much more robust. So as it was a robust column, it needed to look a little slender. So the Greek, what they did was they used 20 shallow flute-like designs to make it a little slender than it actually was. The Doric capital had two parts. So there is the Doric capital and it had two parts. One is abacus, which is the rectangular part. You can see here as well. And the lower part of is the bulbous echinus. Then comes another part is Doric entablature, the second part of Doric order. So the entablature. The entablature had the height, which was 1 3/4 times of lower height, of lower diameter in height. So if the dia is D, the total height of the entablature would be 1 3/4 times of the dia. And then there are three divisions of this entablature. One is architrave, then there is frieze, and then there is cornice, which had moldings. So these were the most common features that were seen in Doric order and which made it distinct than other order, which were Ionic and Corinthian order. And one of the most famous example of using Doric column in a temple was seen in Parthenon. And the Parthenon was a temple which was built in honor of Greek goddess Athena. So I hope this discussion gave you an ample insight into the Doric order. Thank you.